Understanding what others are really thinking gives you a power few ever learn to use. It is not about magic. It is about paying attention to what people reveal without words. We all want to connect and be understood, but most of us miss the signs people give every day. Learning to read those signs changes how you see the world and how the world sees you. The ability to read minds is not about guessing. It is about recognizing patterns in behavior and emotions that people try to hide or don't even realize they show. If you have ever wished you could understand what someone truly feels or thinks, this video will open your eyes. We will explore simple psychology tricks that are not taught in school but can help you build deeper relationships and protect yourself from misunderstandings. These are skills anyone can learn to improve their life and influence. If you're ready to see beyond words and connect on a whole new level, then let's dive in. Number 1. Observe facial expressions to understand hidden emotional states. Most people walk into a room, shake a few hands, smile politely, say what they think they're supposed to say, and completely miss what's really happening. And you know why? Because nobody ever taught them how to pay attention to what matters most. They listen to words, but they don't listen with their eyes. And the truth is, if you can't read what someone's face is telling you, you're walking through life half blind. You've probably had this happen. You're talking to someone, maybe they say they're fine or okay, and something just doesn't feel right. But you brush it off. You trust what they say, not what you see. You feel it in your gut, but you don't act on it. That's not your fault. School never taught you to read people. It taught you math, history, maybe how to diagram a sentence, but it never taught you how to understand people at their core. But that's what success depends on, understanding people. In relationships, in business, in life, the people who master this skill, they lead, they connect, they win trust, they move through life with clarity. Reading facial expressions isn't magic, it's observation. Real, focused observation. And it starts with one simple thing, presence. You've got to stop thinking about what you're going to say next, stop waiting for your turn to talk, and start watching people. Their face is a map of what they're feeling, and it's there whether they want you to see it or not. You walk into a meeting. You shake hands. You sit down. Across the table, the person smiles. But is it real? That's where it starts. Look at the eyes. A real smile makes the eyes narrow. Little lines form at the corners, what they call crow's feet. If the smile's only in the mouth, it's fake. It's forced. That person is hiding something. Maybe doubt. Maybe discomfort. Maybe they just don't want to be there. But now you know. That gives you power because you're not guessing anymore. You're talking to your friend. They say everything's great. But their eyebrows pull upward in the middle. That tiny shift tells a different story. That's sadness. Maybe pain. Maybe they feel alone, but they don't know how to say it. If you see that and say, "Hey, are you sure you're okay?" you just made a connection. You just showed them that someone sees them, that someone's really paying attention. That changes things. Every emotion has a signature in the face. When people are scared, their eyes open wider and their upper eyelids rise. Their lips might stretch sideways. You'll feel the tension in their whole face. When someone's angry, their eyebrows lower and come together. Their nostrils flare. Their lips tighten or press together. You'll feel the energy shift. The trick is not to look too hard. Just relax and observe. The more tense you get trying to see something, the more you'll miss. Most people are trying to control what they say. That's what they can manage. But the face leaks the truth. It betrays what they're really feeling. You just have to be there to see it. One look, one flicker, one shift in muscle tells you more than 10 minutes of small talk. And the key is, people don't even realize they're showing it. That's why it's so powerful. You're not guessing anymore. You're responding to what's real. And when you respond to what's real, people feel it. They feel understood. They feel safe. They feel like you're one of the few people who really get them. That's influence. That's connection. That's how you build trust without saying a word. When someone's confused, their eyebrows draw together and lower slightly, their head may tilt, their mouth tightens. If you're explaining something and you catch that look, stop. Back up. Make it clearer. You've just saved yourself a misunderstanding. When someone's interested, you'll see alertness in the eyes, maybe a slight forward lean, raised eyebrows, even parted lips. If you're selling something, pitching an idea, or just sharing something you care about, watch for that look. That's your green light. That's your moment to go deeper. Now think about all the missed opportunities. How many arguments could have been avoided if someone had just seen the hurt behind the anger? How many relationships could have been saved if someone had recognized fear disguised as distance? How many deals could have been closed if someone had noticed excitement instead of just hearing polite words? This skill changes everything, because people are emotional, always. Even when they act logical, their emotions are behind the wheel. And emotions don't lie, but faces don't hide them well. Once you start seeing that, you're not just reacting anymore. You're leading, you're guiding conversations, you're showing up in a way most people never do. But here's the thing, you've got to practice. This doesn't come from watching one video or reading one book. It comes from watching people every day, at the store, in meetings, at home, on the street. Start noticing. Start asking yourself, what do I see here? What are they feeling really? Don't judge, just observe. And it helps if you match what you see with what you feel. Your instincts are often right, you just haven't been trained to trust them. That tight feeling in your stomach when someone says something that doesn't match their expression. Pay attention to that. Your body's noticing what your mind's not trained to decode yet. And once you get good at this, once it becomes second nature, something amazing happens. You start showing up differently. You stop just talking and start connecting. People open up to you. They respect you. They trust you. Because you see them not just their words, but who they are underneath. And in a world full of surface-level conversations, people are starving for that. They're starving to be seen. You become the kind of person others want to be around, not because you're perfect, but because you make them feel safe, understood, and valued. That's rare. That's powerful. That changes lives, yours and theirs. That's what reading facial expressions can do. Not just understanding emotions, but becoming the kind of person who sees through the noise, who connects deeply, who moves through life with eyes wide open. Number 2. Watch body posture to detect confidence or insecurity easily. You've seen it before, and maybe you've even done it yourself. You walk into a room and instantly feel small, not because someone said anything, but because of how people carry themselves. Some stand tall, shoulders relaxed, chin up, like they belong there. Others sink into their own space, arms crossed, eyes down, making themselves smaller. No one teaches you to notice these things in school, but they matter more than people admit. Posture speaks. It speaks louder than words, and if you don't learn to read it, you'll keep missing what people are really saying even when they're silent. Think back to the last time you spoke to someone who intimidated you. Maybe they didn't raise their voice. Maybe they didn't say anything aggressive, but their body told you everything. They held their head high, chest open, feet planted firm, like they owned the ground they stood on. That posture, that physical presence was their message. I'm in control. I'm confident. I know who I am. Now, on the flip side, think about someone who seemed unsure, hesitant, or anxious. Their arms folded tightly, they shifted their weight back and forth, shoulders hunched, eyes darting around. Even before they spoke, you already knew they didn't feel secure. That's the truth about posture. It reveals confidence or insecurity before a single word is spoken. And if you can learn to watch it, really pay attention, you'll begin to understand people with clarity most never achieve. You'll know who's bluffing, who's afraid, who's truly grounded, who's pretending. You'll walk into conversations knowing what energy you're dealing with. That puts you in a position of strength, not to overpower people, but to respond with awareness and intention. The mistake most people make is assuming posture is just physical. It's not. It's emotional. It's psychological. When someone sits with their arms spread wide, legs relaxed, body open, they're not just physically comfortable, they're mentally open too. They feel safe, sure, and connected to their surroundings. When someone's posture is closed arms crossed, shoulders rounded forward, they're guarding something. They're protecting themselves from judgment, rejection, or conflict. And unless you know how to read that, you'll treat them the same way you treat everyone else and miss the chance to connect at the level they need. You don't have to stare or analyze people like a robot. That's not what this is about. It's about being present enough to notice the signals they're sending with their body. And here's where it becomes practical. You're in a meeting, pitching an idea. Across the table, someone shifts in their seat, leans back, folds their arms. That's not just boredom. That's resistance. That's a lack of buy-in. That's someone who's not convinced. Now you know, you adjust your tone, you reframe your idea, you draw them back in. That's what makes you effective, not because you're guessing, but because you're paying attention. You're talking to a friend. They say they're okay, but they keep fidgeting, legs bouncing, eyes looking toward the door. Their body's telling you something their words aren't. They're anxious, distracted. Maybe they're worried about something. That's your cue to pause and check in. And when you do that, when you meet someone where they are emotionally, not just conversationally, you build trust. You build depth. That's what real connection looks like. Body posture also gives you insight into how people view themselves. Someone who consistently slouches, looks down, keeps their hands in their pockets, they're not just tired. They might be carrying self-doubt. They might be fighting an inner battle no one sees. And you, just by noticing, just by adjusting how you engage with them, can make them feel seen and supported. Confidence doesn't always come with loud voices or big gestures. Sometimes it's in the quiet control of a person who sits calmly, breathes evenly, and holds their space with presence. You'll feel it the moment you see them. They don't need to say much. Their posture tells you they know who they are. That kind of grounded confidence is rare. It's not arrogant. It's not loud. It's steady. You can sense it. Insecurity, on the other hand, often shows up in ways that aren't obvious unless you're paying attention. People might talk fast, interrupt, or over-explain, because deep down they're trying to cover a sense of not being enough. Their posture often betrays that they may lean away, cover their mouth, or keep their head down. These aren't bad people. They're just people who don't feel safe yet. If you catch those cues, you have a choice. You can judge them or you can meet them with empathy. If you do that, you become someone people open up to. And that's power, not the power to dominate, but the power to influence from a place of integrity. Even how people enter a room matters. The person who walks in quickly, avoids eye contact, and immediately finds a seat in the corner isn't just trying to be efficient. They're trying to stay invisible. That's not confidence, it's survival. The one who walks in slowly, makes eye contact, takes a moment to look around, they're comfortable in their skin. They're not rushing to prove anything. Their posture is grounded in who they are. That speaks volumes. And it's not just about reading others. It's about reading yourself too. How do you walk into a room? How do you sit when you talk to others? Are your shoulders tight? Is your spine curved down? Are you always leaning away from people? Your posture reflects your internal state. If you want to project confidence, you've got to feel it. And it starts with how you carry yourself. Stand up straight. Uncross your arms. Keep your chin level. Plant your feet. Breathe deep. These are simple adjustments, but they change how people see you and how you feel about yourself. There's power in body language because it's honest. People can lie with words. They can't lie with how they hold themselves for long. Their posture always reveals something deeper. And if you train your eyes to see that, you step into a different league, not just socially, but emotionally and professionally. What's incredible is once you start recognizing these signs in others, you'll naturally begin shifting your own. You'll become more conscious of how you show up. You'll catch yourself closing off when you're nervous and open up instead. You'll notice when you're shrinking into doubt and choose to sit taller. And that shift in posture won't just change how others see you, it'll change how you see yourself. And the people around you will feel it. They'll sense something different in you. They won't know it's posture. They'll say you seem more confident, more calm, more present. But you'll know. It started with a decision to observe, to notice and to adjust, to understand the language people are speaking, even when they say nothing at all. That's how you learn to read posture. That's how you build awareness. And that awareness, that changes the game. Number 3, notice eye movements to uncover thoughts and intentions. Almost everyone has experienced the frustration of talking to someone and feeling like you're hitting a wall. They're answering your questions, but something feels off, like they're holding something back, or their mind is somewhere else. Most people don't realize that one of the clearest windows into a person's thoughts and intentions is found right there in their eyes. But it's not about just looking someone in the eye. It's about noticing how their eyes move, where they focus, and what that tells you beneath the surface. When people talk, their eyes don't just wander randomly. Their eye movements are often connected to their thinking process and emotions. They can reveal whether someone is recalling a memory, inventing a story, or feeling uncertain. For example, if you notice someone glancing up and to the right, it could mean they are imagining something or creating a response. That's important because it tells you their answer might be less about fact and more about invention. If they look up and to the left, they may be recalling a real memory, grounding their words in truth. These subtle movements aren't taught in school, and they rarely come up in everyday conversation, but once you understand them, it's like gaining a secret code. You begin to hear the unsaid. You sense hesitation, confidence, or even deception in ways most people miss. Imagine the advantage you have when you know if someone is genuinely recalling facts or piecing together answers on the fly. It's not about accusing people of lying, it's about knowing where their mind is. And that awareness allows you to steer conversations more wisely. People often avoid eye contact when they're uncomfortable or hiding something. But it's not always about guilt. Sometimes it's simply nervousness or distraction. When you notice someone's eyes darting quickly side to side, it's a sign of their mind jumping around, overwhelmed or uneasy. If their gaze is fixed downward or averted repeatedly, they might be retreating from the topic or feeling vulnerable. Recognizing this helps you adjust your approach, perhaps by softening your questions or giving them space to open up gradually. Conversely, steady and direct eye contact often signals honesty and confidence. People who hold their gaze without flinching generally feel secure in what they're saying. That doesn't mean they're always truthful, but it often means they believe in their own words. The ability to maintain eye contact without seeming aggressive is a skill that reflects inner composure, and when you spot that, you know you're dealing with someone present and engaged. There's another subtle cue that many miss: the blink rate. When someone is nervous or stressed, their blinking speeds up. If you notice a sudden increase in blinking during a conversation, it's a sign of emotional pressure or discomfort. You might be asking a tough question or approaching a sensitive subject. This gives you a chance to pause, ease the tension, or change direction to keep the dialogue constructive. Pay attention also to pupil size. In dim light or when someone's eyes are dilated, it's often a sign of interest or arousal. That might be excitement about the topic, attraction to the person, or simply engagement. While pupil changes aren't always easy to see, they add another layer to the picture of what's going on inside someone's mind. Understanding eye movements also teaches you about how people process information differently. Some are visual thinkers. They see images in their mind's eye when they talk or think. Others are more auditory or kinesthetic. If you notice someone looking up, they may be accessing visual memories or images. If they glance sideways, they may be listening to their own words or sounds inside their head. If their eyes move down, they might be accessing feelings or physical sensations. Once you learn these patterns, you can match your communication style to theirs, building rapport quickly and effectively. For example, if you notice a person's eyes moving upward when you ask a question, try describing things visually. Use words like see, look, or picture this. If their eyes move sideways, use words about sound or listening. This subtle shift in how you speak creates harmony and makes people feel understood at a deeper level. It's a simple trick, but it works because it shows you're tuned in to how they think and process information. When dealing with someone evasive, pay close attention to their eyes. People often unconsciously glance toward an exit or door when they want to leave or avoid a topic. That eye movement might tell you they're uncomfortable or ready to end the conversation. Recognizing this gives you a chance to either wrap things up respectfully or change the topic to something less threatening. Eye contact also plays a huge role in trust building. When someone looks you in the eye consistently, it creates a feeling of connection. Your brain releases chemicals that make you feel bonded to that person. When eye contact breaks down, trust dissolves. So by noticing these patterns, you get real clues about how much trust is being built or lost in any interaction. This skill becomes incredibly useful in negotiations, interviews, and everyday conversations. The ability to read what someone's eyes are saying before they even speak lets you adapt instantly. You can sense hesitation and address it. You can pick up enthusiasm and fuel it. You can notice distraction and bring focus back. Most people react only to words, but you respond to the entire message. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You'll start noticing these eye signals without effort, like recognizing a familiar face in a crowd. You don't have to stare or make someone uncomfortable. Just be aware and let your eyes gently gather information. It's a quiet skill, but one that changes the way you relate to people deeply. Remember, eyes are a window into the mind because they reveal what people aren't saying aloud. Words can be rehearsed or scripted. Eyes usually aren't. When you pay attention, you gain insight into what's really going on inside someone's head, what they're thinking, feeling, and planning. When you see the difference between someone's words and what their eyes tell you, you hold the key to understanding them fully. That's where influence grows, where relationships deepen, and where real communication happens. This awareness lets you move from guesswork to clarity, from surface chatter to genuine connection. Every conversation you have is a chance to practice. When someone talks, watch their eyes. When you ask a question, notice where they look. When they hesitate, see how their gaze shifts. This is how you start to read minds, not by magic, but by paying close attention to one of the most honest and revealing parts of a person's body. That's the power of noticing eye movements. It's the power to understand people on a level most never reach. It's the power to connect, influence, and lead with precision and empathy. Number 4. Pay attention to micro-expressions for true feelings instantly. Every day people wear masks. Not literal ones, but the emotional ones that hide what they really feel. You've been there talking to someone who says they're fine, but you can see a flicker of doubt, anger, or sadness flash across their face before it's gone. These tiny, almost invisible expressions are called micro-expressions. They last less than a second and often slip past most people unnoticed. But for those who learn to catch them, micro-expressions are a direct line to the truth, bypassing words and revealing genuine emotions in real time. Most of us miss these signs because they happen so fast. They're automatic, unconscious reactions that reveal what someone is actually experiencing inside, even when they try to hide it. Think about it like a brief crack in a wall, just a quick flash of what's really happening beneath the surface. These little expressions happen all over the face, eyes, mouth, forehead, and they reveal emotions like fear, anger, happiness, surprise, disgust, sadness, and contempt. Learning to spot them gives you a huge advantage because you get the real story, not just the polished version people want you to see. Why does this matter? because so often people say one thing but feel another. When emotions don't match words, trust breaks down. You've probably felt this when someone's smile looks forced or their voice sounds cheerful, but their eyes tell a different story. Without understanding micro-expressions, you accept their words at face value and might get hurt or misled. With this skill, you become a person who sees through the cracks and understands the deeper truth of what's going on. To catch micro-expressions, you have to slow down your mental processing. It's not about staring or judging, but about being present enough to notice those brief moments before the mask slips back in place. For example, someone might say they're happy to see you, but for a split second their eyes narrow or their lips tighten, a sign of annoyance or discomfort. That split second tells you what's really going on emotionally, so you can respond with care instead of assuming everything is okay. Micro-expressions also help you avoid misunderstandings. Imagine a colleague says, "That's a great idea," but their face briefly shows disgust or skepticism. Without noticing that, you might push forward with a plan they don't support. But if you catch the micro-expression, you have an opening to ask questions, clarify, or address concerns before problems grow. It's like getting an early warning system for emotional truths hidden behind polite conversation. One reason micro-expressions are so powerful is that they are impossible to fake. Even the best liars can't control these quick flashes because they're rooted in the brain's emotional centers, automatic and unconscious. That's why they're so reliable. If you learn to spot them, you become a human lie detector, but more importantly, you become someone who truly understands people beneath the surface. The challenge is that these expressions are fleeting. They last for only a fraction of a second, so your brain has to be trained to pick them up instantly. That takes practice. Start by observing people closely in everyday life, on TV, in conversations, or even watching strangers. Notice the tiny changes in their faces when emotions run high. Over time, your brain will get better at catching these small clues automatically. Another key to mastering micro-expressions is to look for clusters rather than single movements. One micro-expression might mean little, but if you see several subtle signs of discomfort, fear, or frustration together, that's a clearer picture of what someone is feeling. For example, a brief tightening of the lips combined with a furrowed brow and a quick blink signals stress or worry. Spotting these clusters helps you understand the full emotional message. Understanding micro-expressions doesn't just help you read others, it also helps you regulate your own emotions. When you become aware of how emotions show up on the face, you get better at recognizing when you're about to react emotionally and can choose to pause or respond differently. That self-awareness improves your emotional control and communication, making you more effective in every interaction. In personal relationships, micro-expressions can be the difference between connection and distance. When you see your loved one's fleeting frustration or sadness, you don't have to wait for them to explain. You can acknowledge their feelings and show empathy right away. This kind of emotional tuning deepens trust and intimacy because people feel truly seen and understood, even without words. In business or leadership, spotting micro-expressions allows you to gauge the room quickly. During negotiations or meetings, you can tell when people are skeptical, excited, or uncomfortable, often before they say a word. This lets you adjust your approach, address concerns early, and build stronger agreements. Leaders who read micro-expressions well tend to inspire loyalty because they show emotional intelligence and sensitivity that others miss. It's important to remember that context matters. A micro-expression might mean different things depending on the situation or the person's usual behavior. That's why it's essential to combine this skill with understanding the person and the environment. The more you know about someone, the more accurately you can interpret these subtle emotional signals. Micro-expressions are also universal across cultures. Despite differences in language or customs, these tiny emotional flashes look the same on faces everywhere. That universality means this skill helps you connect with people from all backgrounds, breaking down barriers and building understanding that words alone often can't achieve. The next time you interact with someone, try this experiment. Watch their face carefully. Notice the smallest changes in expression. Don't rush to conclusions, but keep your mind open to what those tiny signals might mean. Over time, you'll start catching feelings others are trying to hide or don't even realize they're showing. When you learn to pay attention to micro-expressions, you unlock a new level of human understanding. You move beyond surface conversations into the realm of genuine emotion and intention. You gain insight that lets you respond with empathy, wisdom, and power. That's how you truly read minds, not by guessing, but by seeing the truth right before your eyes. Mastering micro-expressions isn't just a skill, it's a gateway to stronger relationships, better decisions, and a deeper connection with the people around you. It takes patience and practice, but the payoff is enormous. When you catch the feelings others try to hide, you become a person who doesn't just hear words, but understands hearts. Number 5. Listen to tone of voice for emotional cues and meaning. There's a truth many people overlook every time they listen to someone speak. It's not just what is said that carries meaning, but how it's said. Tone of voice reveals feelings that words often hide. Think about the last time you talked to someone who said, "I'm fine," but the sound of their voice told a completely different story, maybe a little tight, low, or hesitant. Most people focus on the words alone and miss the powerful emotional signals carried by tone. This is a huge missed opportunity because tone gives away what's really happening inside a person's heart and mind, even when their words try to hide it. Tone of voice is packed with clues about emotions like confidence, fear, excitement, frustration, or doubt. When someone speaks with a steady, clear, and calm tone, it signals that they feel in control and sure of themselves. On the other hand, a shaky or uneven voice often indicates nervousness, insecurity, or discomfort. This means you can pick up on feelings that haven't been said outright, giving you an edge in understanding what the other person truly experiences. Listening carefully to tone is like having an emotional radar. When you hear changes in pitch, speed, or volume, those shifts often mean something important. A sudden rise in pitch might mean surprise or anxiety, while a drop might suggest sadness or resignation. Fast talking often reveals excitement or urgency, but if it's paired with a breathless quality, it might be stress or overwhelm. Slow, measured speech can show calmness or sometimes a deliberate effort to think carefully before speaking. Recognizing these variations lets you tune into the emotional undercurrent of any conversation. Many people don't realize how tone can contradict words. A person might say yes with hesitation or a tight voice, signaling reluctance even when they agree. Or someone may say no softly but firmly, signaling a clear boundary despite the gentle sound. By paying attention to these clues, you avoid being fooled by words alone and get closer to the real message behind them. It's also important to notice the energy in someone's voice. A voice full of energy, warmth, and enthusiasm draws people in and creates connection. When the tone is flat, monotone, or low energy, it often means the person is disinterested, tired, or disengaged. Understanding these emotional signals helps you adjust your approach. If someone sounds drained, you might need to be more patient or encouraging. If they sound excited, you can match that energy to build momentum. Tone also plays a critical role in how your own message is received. When you speak with confidence and warmth, people are more likely to listen and trust you. If your tone is harsh, dismissive, or rushed, you can unintentionally push others away or create resistance. So, by becoming aware of tone, you not only read others better, but you become a more effective communicator yourself. The subtle changes in tone can also reveal when someone is holding back or not fully committed. For example, a voice that wavers or drops off at the end of sentences can show uncertainty or fear of judgment. When you detect this, it gives you a chance to provide reassurance or ask questions that invite openness. People often need a safe space to share what's really on their minds, and tone tells you when they're struggling to do that. In difficult conversations, tone of voice can either escalate or calm tensions. Raising your voice or speaking sharply often fuels conflict, while lowering your tone and speaking slowly can diffuse it. When you listen carefully to others' tone, you can sense rising frustration or anger early and adjust your responses to prevent fights or misunderstandings. This makes tone a tool not just for understanding, but for leadership and problem-solving. People who master listening to tone develop a kind of emotional intuition. They sense when a person is excited but afraid, happy but stressed, confident but doubtful. These are the hidden layers of human experience that words alone don't reveal. This skill lets you respond with empathy and insight instead of just reacting to surface statements. It's also crucial to consider cultural differences in tone and speech patterns. Some cultures express emotion loudly and openly, while others are more reserved. By paying attention to tone, you can pick up on subtle emotional cues even when the way people speak differs from what you're used to. This broadens your ability to connect across backgrounds and avoid misunderstandings. Practicing this skill starts with focused listening. During conversations, try to separate the words from the way they're said. Notice the volume, pitch, rhythm, and pauses. Pay attention to what changes when the topic shifts or when emotions run high. Over time, you build a mental library of tone patterns that tell you exactly what someone feels, even when they try to hide it. Tone is often overlooked because it feels intangible compared to words. But the truth is, tone carries most of the emotional weight in communication. Words might deliver the message, but tone delivers the feeling behind it. Ignoring tone means missing out on the real story of what people think and feel. When you become skilled at listening to tone, you gain an invaluable tool for life. You become someone who understands not just what people say, but what they truly mean. You see beyond the surface to the emotions that drive their words. That insight lets you connect deeply, communicate clearly, and influence effectively. Every conversation you have holds hidden emotional messages in the tone of voice. By tuning into those messages, you unlock the power to read minds without speaking a word. You gain a clearer, richer understanding of others that transforms relationships and opens doors you didn't even know existed. Learning to listen beyond words to the tone of voice is not a quick trick, but a lifelong skill. It requires patience, presence, and practice. But the reward is enormous: greater empathy, better communication, and a sharper sense of what's really happening beneath the surface in every interaction. The voice tells a story nobody else can hear unless you pay attention. When you listen closely to tone, you're not just hearing words, you're hearing feelings, intentions, and truths that otherwise remain hidden. That's the true power of this skill. It lets you see people's minds clearly through the sounds they make, connecting you to them in ways words alone never could. Number 6. Analyze word choices to reveal inner thoughts and priorities. Most people listen to conversations and only catch the surface meaning, the story, or the information shared. But words do far more than convey facts. Every word someone chooses carries a hidden message about what's important to them, what they believe, and how they truly feel about a situation. The words people use reveal their inner world more than they realize. When you learn to analyze word choices, you unlock the ability to read minds, not by guessing, but by understanding the patterns in how people express themselves. Think about a conversation where someone talks about a challenge but uses words like never, always, or impossible. These strong, absolute terms show a mindset stuck in frustration or hopelessness. They're not just words, they're signals that reveal how that person views their situation deeply. On the other hand, when someone describes a challenge as difficult but manageable, or a chance to learn, the words show optimism and problem-solving focus. These choices give you a clear window into their priorities and how they see the world. Words also reveal what people value most. Someone who frequently talks about freedom, choice, or independence likely prioritizes autonomy above all else. Another person who uses words like security, stability, and predictable signals that safety and consistency matter deeply to them. By paying attention to these patterns, you understand what motivates people and what drives their decisions. This insight lets you connect on a deeper level and communicate in ways that resonate with their true needs. The way people describe themselves is also a powerful clue. If someone often refers to themselves as struggling, not good enough, or behind, it shows a lack of confidence or self-esteem. When someone uses phrases like capable, in control, or learning, it signals self-belief and a growth mindset. These subtle differences in word choice reveal how they see their own identity, which affects how they act and respond to challenges. Word choice also reflects emotional states. When people talk about past events using negative words or blaming language, they are likely still carrying emotional pain or resentment. If they focus on positive words and gratitude, they are more likely emotionally balanced and hopeful. Listening carefully to the emotional tone behind words helps you understand not just what happened, but how it affected the person inside. Sometimes people avoid certain words or topics because they are uncomfortable or scared to face them. If you notice a sudden change in word choice, like shifting from detailed stories to vague or evasive language, that's a sign they might be hiding something or protecting themselves emotionally. This awareness gives you a chance to approach the conversation gently or change direction to build trust. People's word choices also expose their mindset about relationships. Someone who frequently uses we, us, and together shows they value connection and teamwork. Another person who sticks to I and me often focuses on individual goals or independence. These differences highlight what matters most to them socially and guide how you interact with them in a way that feels natural and respectful. Words can also tell you about the urgency or importance someone places on an issue. When people use words like must, urgent, or priority, it signals high importance or pressure. Conversely, words like maybe, later, or if possible indicate flexibility or lower urgency. Recognizing these signals lets you prioritize conversations and actions based on what really matters to the other person. It's important to notice how people frame problems and solutions in their words. Someone who describes problems with words like problem, trouble, or failure may focus on obstacles and difficulties. Someone who frames issues as challenges, opportunities, or lessons is more solution-oriented and resilient. Understanding this helps you communicate in ways that encourage growth instead of frustration. Pay attention to the metaphors and comparisons people use. When someone describes their life as a battle or storm, it reveals feelings of struggle and chaos. If they talk about life as a journey or path, they likely see it as a process of growth and learning. These descriptions expose their emotional worldview and help you empathize more deeply. Listening to word choice also means noticing what's missing. When people avoid talking about their feelings or use abstract words instead of specific descriptions, they might be uncomfortable with vulnerability or unsure how to express emotions. This gap tells you where to focus your attention if you want to help them open up. The power of analyzing word choice lies in how it sharpens your ability to predict behavior. When you understand what matters most to someone and how they feel about their situation, you can anticipate how they will act. This helps in business negotiations, friendships, family dynamics, or leadership because you're responding not just to words, but to the meaning behind them. This skill also empowers you to choose your own words more carefully. When you understand how others interpret language, you can communicate more clearly and persuasively. You become aware of how your words affect others emotionally, and can craft your messages to inspire, motivate, or calm as needed. Analyzing word choice is not about judging or labeling people, but about gaining insight. Everyone uses language differently, and understanding those differences creates connection instead of division. When you tune in to these subtle clues, you become a better listener, a wiser communicator, and a more compassionate human being. This skill requires mindfulness and attention. It means slowing down in conversations and reflecting on what is said beyond the surface. Over time, you develop a natural ability to hear the unspoken stories hidden in words, revealing people's true priorities and feelings. Mastering this art transforms how you relate to the world. Instead of guessing what people think or feeling confused by mixed messages, you gain clarity and confidence. You learn to read the emotional maps behind language, opening doors to deeper understanding and stronger relationships. Every conversation is an opportunity to discover more about the person in front of you if you pay attention to their word choices. These choices are not random. They are the fingerprints of the mind, the clues to what someone values, fears, and hopes for. By sharpening your awareness of how words reveal inner thoughts and priorities, you step into a new realm of human connection. You become someone who truly hears and sees others, not just through their words, but through the meaning those words carry beneath the surface. That kind of understanding changes everything. It breaks down barriers. It builds bridges. It creates space for honesty, trust, and growth. This is the power waiting for you when you learn to analyze word choices with care and attention. Number 7. Observe hand gestures to identify stress or confidence levels. Every day, people around you communicate far more with their hands than they realize. You might not think about it, but hands reveal a powerful story. They show whether someone is confident or nervous, relaxed or stressed, open or closed off. This silent language of the hands gives you an inside look into a person's true feelings, even when their words try to hide it. Observing hand gestures closely offers a real chance to understand what's really going on beneath the surface. Most people feel pressure in social situations, but it shows up clearly through their hands before their words give it away. Hands that fidget, twist, or cover parts of the face signal discomfort and stress. When someone nervously taps their fingers, bites their nails, or wrings their hands, these small movements reveal anxiety or tension. The body can't always lie, and the hands are often the first place where stress leaks out. In contrast, confident people tend to have hands that move purposefully and calmly. When hands are steady, open, and used to emphasize points naturally, they show control and comfort. Notice when someone gestures openly with palms up or moves their hands in smooth, controlled motions. These gestures indicate they feel secure and ready to engage honestly. They're not hiding. They're showing they trust themselves and the situation. Another strong clue is whether someone's hands are visible or hidden. Covering hands with pockets, crossing arms and gripping the opposite arm, or clutching objects tightly can all signal defensiveness or insecurity. Hiding the hands is a natural protective instinct when someone feels vulnerable or unsure. On the other hand, when hands are relaxed and free, it suggests openness and a willingness to connect. Hand gestures also reveal the intensity of emotions. Quick, sharp movements often express impatience or frustration. Someone who snaps their fingers, points aggressively, or makes abrupt chopping motions might be angry or eager to take control. Conversely, slow and gentle hand movements tend to show calmness and thoughtfulness. The way hands move tells you not just what a person feels, but how deeply those feelings run. Pay attention to repetitive hand movements. People under stress sometimes engage in repetitive gestures like tapping, rubbing their fingers together, or drumming on surfaces. These unconscious actions are signs of nervous energy that needs release. Recognizing these patterns helps you understand when someone is struggling to stay composed or is overwhelmed by internal pressure. The way hands relate to the face is another important signal. If hands frequently touch the face, rubbing the nose, covering the mouth, or scratching the chin, it often points to discomfort or uncertainty. These gestures act like shields, protecting the person from fully exposing their thoughts or feelings. When hands avoid the face and stay relaxed by the sides or rest openly on the table, it signals ease and honesty. Hands also communicate the desire to connect or distance oneself. When people reach out with open hands, it indicates they want to engage and share. If their hands pull back or keep a barrier between themselves and others, it shows hesitation or guardedness. Understanding this gives you clues about how receptive someone is in the moment. The firmness of a handshake is another classic example. A weak, limp handshake can suggest low confidence or lack of enthusiasm. A strong, steady handshake signals assurance and respect. Although simple, this small gesture often sets the tone for how people perceive each other and can reveal a lot about their self-image. Observing hand gestures isn't about judging or making quick assumptions. Instead, it's about gathering evidence from natural, unconscious behaviors that people show even when they try not to. When you combine what you see in hand movements with what people say and how their face and body behave, you get a fuller picture of what they're really thinking and feeling. Hands also play a role in storytelling and persuasion. People who use their hands to explain or emphasize points tend to be more engaged and confident in their message. Those who keep their hands still or hidden may struggle with self-doubt or be uncertain about their message. This understanding can guide you to adjust your own communication style or better interpret others. Stressful situations often make hand gestures more exaggerated or unusual. Notice when someone's hand movements become sharp or erratic during difficult conversations. This shift can alert you that emotions are running high and that patience or sensitivity might be needed to keep communication open and productive. Cultural differences affect hand gestures, so it's important to understand the context. What seems like a confident gesture in one culture might have a different meaning elsewhere. Still, the basic principle remains. Hands reveal emotional states that words can't always hide. Paying attention to these universal signs improves your ability to read others with empathy and accuracy. Sometimes people use hand gestures intentionally to persuade or control. Confident leaders often use steady, deliberate hand movements to guide conversations and emphasize key ideas. Recognizing these gestures helps you identify when someone is leading or influencing the direction of the discussion. Hand gestures also give insight into a person's level of stress over time. If you observe the same person in different settings, noticing changes in their hand movements can reveal shifts in confidence or anxiety. These changes show how circumstances impact their mental and emotional state. When you combine hand gesture observation with other body language cues, your ability to read people sharpens dramatically. It's like adding pieces to a puzzle where each gesture provides a clue to the full picture of someone's feelings and intentions. Ultimately, paying attention to hands teaches patience and focus. It trains you to slow down and really see what others are communicating beneath their words. This skill brings you closer to authentic understanding and stronger connections. By noticing hand gestures carefully, you gain the power to respond more thoughtfully. You can offer support when stress is high or match confidence with confidence, creating harmony and trust. This silent language speaks volumes, and learning to listen with your eyes changes how you relate to the world. Hands are constantly telling stories, even when words don't. The more you pay attention, the more you understand the real message beneath the surface. This awareness moves you beyond surface conversations to genuine insight. It's a step toward truly reading minds by seeing what's hidden in plain sight. Number 8. Notice changes in breathing patterns to sense nervousness quickly. When was the last time you felt tension in a conversation before anyone spoke? That awareness wasn't imagination. It came from observing a shift in breathing, the tiniest moment when someone's breath quickened or faltered. Breathing is raw, honest, and impossible to fake for long. You might think breathing is private, invisible, and unrelated to communication. But in truth, it's one of the most revealing signals available. When you begin paying attention, you'll realize that breath patterns tell you what someone truly feels inside even before they form a word or expression. Picture this: you're in a meeting and someone takes a sudden, sharp inhale when a question lands. You might miss it entirely, but in that split second, their body just revealed anxiety or surprise. That split-second breath is a silent alarm. It signals that something caught them off guard. If you notice it, you gain insight into their emotional reaction. You gain clarity, and that changes everything about how you engage next. You adjust with care, ask a different question, shift your energy. That moment of awareness can prevent discomfort and build trust by responding instead of reacting. Most people ignore breath because it's subtle and happens subconsciously. But breathing patterns shift instantly with emotion. Breath holds, quickens, or loosens based on what a person feels. When you notice someone's chest tighten or their breath shorten, you know stress or uncertainty is in the room, even if they're smiling. And when someone's breathing is deep, regular, relaxed, their mind is calm and open. That contrast gives you emotional clarity that words alone can't provide. Breathing also reveals pacing. A rushed breath pattern means someone is overwhelmed or eager to move on. A slower, measured breath often indicates thoughtfulness or caution. If you're guiding a conversation and notice breathing speed up, you might slow down. If it steadies, you can go deeper. That rhythm gives you directional insight into the emotional flow of interaction. When someone is nervous or hiding something, their breath may become shallow and rapid. Their body is signaling a fight-or-flight response, even if they're trying to stay composed. That involuntary reaction doesn't lie. If you can sense it, you hold emotional intelligence. You know when to step back, give space, or offer reassurance. You respond with respect, not interruption. An important clue is breath holding. A quick pause or frozen breath before speaking often signals hesitation, fear, or uncertainty about what to say next. That moment is gold. It tells you the person is grappling with their next thought. You can meet that by providing silence, by asking gentle questions, or by offering support. Most people rush to fill silence. Instead, you hold it. And in that space, trust and openness grow. Breathing signals also show up in group settings. You might notice collective breath patterns. When tension rises in a conversation, several people may begin to breathe faster. If you feel that shift, you know the temperature in the room changed. You can address the energy, acknowledge discomfort, or shift direction. You lead atmospheres, not just conversations. It's worth noting that breath changes also show relief. A sigh, particularly a long exhaled sigh, often signals release or acceptance. That breath tells you someone's mindset shifted. They've resolved something internally. Maybe they've agreed or let go of a point. When you catch that sigh, you know the emotional barrier has fallen and it's safe to move forward. To develop this skill, start in everyday life. When someone answers a question, listen to how they breathe. When someone walks into the room, sense whether they inhale deeply or hesitate. Their body might hold its breath when they see you or let it out with relief. You'll be surprised how much emotional intel is there, hiding in plain sight. Breathing awareness also helps you regulate your own state. When you sense someone else breathing fast, your own breath may mimic theirs. When you notice that, choose to quiet your breath first. You ground yourself. You anchor the moment. That stability gives you the ability to influence tone and energy gently and effectively. This skill becomes especially powerful in moments of conflict. Tension builds before the words arrive. Breaths tighten, people duck their chests, and they rush to speak. If you tune in early, you can slow the current. You breathe deeper yourself and create space. You model calm. And being the steady point in that storm helps others trust that what's being discussed isn't a battlefield, but a conversation. Breathing patterns are universal. Regardless of culture or language, breath is a human indicator of emotion. No one can control it perfectly. By noticing these shifts, you honor the truth behind what's happening inside people, and you respond with understanding instead of assumption. This isn't about psychoanalyzing every inhale or exhale. It's about cultivating openness, curiosity, and a willingness to listen with your eyes, ears, and heart, not just your brain. Breathing gives voice to hidden states. It maps anxiety, comfort, tension, and relief. And once you begin to follow that map, you stop guessing where people stand. You start knowing. Your ability to sense nervousness through breath changes transforms how you relate. People feel heard and understood because you responded to something they didn't even say. That kind of perception builds trust faster than any polished pitch or charm. It shows you care. Every meeting, every conversation, every interaction is an opportunity to notice breathing. That awareness reduces misunderstandings, prevents missteps, and deepens connection. It turns guesswork into clarity, reaction into reflection, and talking into listening with intention. When you notice breathing, you read the room before it speaks. You sense discomfort before it becomes conflict. You feel relief before gratitude is voiced. That awareness turns you into a leader of empathy and emotional intelligence. In a world full of noise, breath is the quietest truth teller. When you train yourself to notice it, you gain an invisible superpower, the ability to sense what people feel before they even know it themselves. And that power gives you the chance to respond with heart, purpose, and authenticity. Number 9, ask open questions and study reactions for deeper understanding. Start observing the direction someone looks after being asked a question. You ask a question, and for a moment, just a flicker of a second, they look away. Not randomly, not without meaning, but in a specific direction. And in that direction lies a secret most people never notice. The eyes speak when the mouth stays silent. People don't always answer with words. They answer with movement, and the eyes are the most revealing. In real life, people rarely answer tough questions immediately. There's a pause, and during that pause, something happens. They look up, down, left, or right, and that's where their mind is going. When someone looks up and to their right, for example, it's often linked to imagination constructing something new, fabricating or figuring out what to say. On the other hand, when they look up and to their left, they're likely recalling a memory, pulling something real from their past. That glance isn't accidental. It's their brain working in real time, and the eyes reflect that inner process. But let's keep it honest. People rarely realize they're doing this. These are unconscious movements. That's what makes them valuable. You can't train yourself to fake it precisely. The eyes reveal the truth before the lips even begin to shape words. In high-stakes situations, interviews, negotiations, confrontations, knowing where someone looks can tell you whether they're recalling fact or scrambling to form a convenient version of the truth. When someone looks down, that often signals emotional processing. They're not just thinking logically, they're feeling. A downward glance, especially to the right, may reflect internal dialogue. They're talking to themselves, trying to make sense of what was asked. Maybe they're trying to regulate a feeling, settle nervous energy, or rehearse an answer they're not sure how to deliver. When you catch that movement, it's not something to challenge, it's something to notice. Give them space. That glance downward might be them navigating internal discomfort, guilt, or vulnerability. To the left, people often access memory. If you ask, "Where did you go last summer?" and they glance left, it usually means they're genuinely retrieving that answer. Their eyes are searching through their memory banks, trying to find the truth. But if their eyes dart to the opposite direction, it might be a cue they're constructing something, perhaps embellishing or fabricating. Again, this isn't foolproof lie detection, but it's a pattern. And people who consistently look in certain directions when responding might be telling you more than they realize. The secret is subtlety. Don't stare. Don't analyze so hard that you lose the connection. Let the eyes guide your understanding. Begin to notice these movements quietly and consistently. When someone pauses and looks in a certain direction, don't interrupt. Watch. Wait. Then speak. The gap between their eye movement and their verbal response holds information more valuable than most people realize. Consider emotionally charged situations. You confront someone about a difficult issue. Their eyes drop before they speak. That's not just avoidance. That's an emotional signal. They might be hurt, guilty, or uncertain. You don't need to accuse. You don't need to rush. Just recognize what's unfolding internally. That awareness gives you a choice. Respond with empathy or with ego. People feel safer when they sense you're attuned to their nonverbal world, and eye direction gives you that access. When someone avoids eye contact altogether, never looking toward you, keeping their gaze fixed in one place, that's also a signal. It might mean discomfort, fear, or even defiance. It could also mean shame. People who struggle with confrontation often can't maintain eye contact because their emotional state is too overwhelming. So they look anywhere but toward the source. That doesn't mean they're lying. It means they're vulnerable. If you push harder in that moment, they'll shut down. But if you slow down and create safety, they may open up. You can also test patterns. Ask a factual question like, "What did you eat for breakfast yesterday?" and notice the direction of their eyes. Then ask a creative question. What would your perfect morning look like? Again, observe. You'll start to see personal patterns emerge. Everyone is a little different. Some people may reverse typical directions. That's why personal baselining is key. It's not about applying a one-size-fits-all model. It's about understanding how each person you talk to navigates memory, emotion, and thought. Think of the eyes as the cursor on someone's mental screen. They reveal where the attention is, what tab is open in their mind. It's subtle, it's fast. But if you pay attention, you'll know what's going on beneath the surface. People can hide their tone. They can polish their words. But they can't hide where their mind goes when asked something that matters. In moments of high tension, like arguments or interviews, these clues become even more pronounced. Pressure amplifies instinct, and instinct reveals truth. A candidate answering a question with eyes darting to their right might be inventing an answer on the fly. A partner whose eyes fall downward when you ask a tough question may be wrestling with honesty or internal emotion. These signs don't need to be called out. They need to be understood. Start practicing today. In your next few conversations, resist the urge to jump in immediately after you ask a question. Give space. Watch the eyes. Where do they move? How long do they stay there? What expression accompanies the motion? Begin linking what you see with what's said next. Over time, your pattern recognition sharpens. You'll start noticing truths that others miss. This isn't manipulation. It's awareness. It's emotional intelligence. It's communication at a deeper level beneath the noise, behind the words. When you understand how people access their thoughts and emotions through eye direction, you no longer operate on the surface. You begin seeing what's real. People want to be seen and heard, not just for what they say, but for what they feel. And the direction of their eyes is often the doorway to that inner world. Learn to observe it, respect it, and respond to it. That's how powerful connection is built, not with force, but with quiet, clear attention to what's always been there, waiting to be noticed. Number 10. Combine verbal and nonverbal cues to predict accurate intentions. Combine verbal and nonverbal cues to predict accurate intentions. Life is full of moments when what's said is only part of the story. Most people miss the deeper message because they focus only on words. The truth is, communication is more than talking. It's a complex dance between what's spoken and what's shown. Understanding the real intentions behind someone's words means looking beyond language and combining it with what their body is telling you. This combination reveals their true feelings, motives, and mindset. People often say one thing but feel something else entirely. A smile might accompany harsh words. A calm voice might mask a pounding heart. Words alone can be rehearsed, polished, and sometimes used to deceive or protect. But when you watch a person's gestures, posture, facial expressions, and tone alongside their words, you start to see the whole picture. That's where real understanding lives. Imagine you're talking to a colleague about a new project. They say, "I'm excited to lead this," but their shoulders are slumped and their eyes avoid yours. Their voice is flat, without enthusiasm. This mismatch between verbal and nonverbal signals suggests something deeper. Maybe they feel pressured or uncertain, but are masking it with words. If you only listen to their words, you'd believe they're eager. But when you combine the signs, the truth is clearer. The secret is not to judge by one cue alone. When words don't match body language or tone, pause and reflect. Notice the subtle signals, the tension in their hands, the quick glance away, the shallow breathing that contradict their speech. These contradictions often point to hesitation, doubt, or even a hidden agenda. When you pay attention to these clues, you gain a powerful advantage. You can adjust your approach, ask better questions, or create space for honesty. This skill is not about suspicion or mistrust. It's about empathy and insight. People naturally express emotions through their bodies, even when they try to hide them. Their subconscious language leaks truths. When you see and hear these leaks together, you gain a clearer picture of their reality. Tone of voice is a key piece of this puzzle. The same phrase can sound friendly, sarcastic, nervous, or angry, depending on how it's said. If someone says, "I'm fine," with a tight jaw and clipped tone, their words might mean the opposite. Their body might lean away or cross arms defensively, reinforcing that what they're saying isn't the full story. Hearing tone and watching body language side by side helps decode these mixed messages. The speed and rhythm of speech also carry meaning. Someone who speaks quickly might be nervous or trying to rush past uncomfortable topics. A slow, hesitant voice might signal uncertainty or reluctance. Pauses and hesitations often indicate processing or hesitation. If these vocal cues clash with confident or positive words, the inconsistency is a sign to dig deeper. Listening carefully to word choice is essential too. People who are honest tend to use concrete, specific language. Vague or evasive words often signal avoidance or discomfort. When vague words are paired with closed body language like crossed arms or a stiff posture, it's a clear sign that something's being withheld. But if vague words come with open gestures and relaxed tone, it might just be nervousness or lack of information. The whole package matters. Observe hand gestures closely. Confident, purposeful gestures match words of certainty. On the other hand, fidgeting, wringing hands, or touching the face repeatedly can show anxiety or dishonesty. These small movements often happen unconsciously and reveal the emotional undercurrents behind the words. When gestures align with speech, the message feels genuine and trustworthy. Facial expressions are another rich source of information. Genuine smiles engage the whole face, especially the eyes. A fake smile usually only moves the mouth. When someone's expression matches their words, you feel it. If it doesn't, you feel something's off. That gut feeling comes from your brain, picking up on these subtle inconsistencies between verbal and nonverbal signals. Breathing patterns add even more layers. Shallow, rapid breaths may indicate stress or fear, even when someone insists everything is okay. Deep, steady breathing usually reflects calm and confidence. Notice if breathing changes as the topic shifts. These shifts often correspond to emotional reactions that aren't voiced. The rise and fall of breath combined with speech tone can give you a real-time window into someone's inner state. When you bring all these elements together, you gain an extraordinary skill, the ability to see through surface-level communication and glimpse what's truly happening beneath. This skill is essential in all areas of life: relationships, work, negotiations, even daily conversations. It helps you avoid misunderstandings, detect insincerity, and build trust faster. Using this knowledge also improves your own communication. When you realize how others perceive your words and body language, you can adjust accordingly. Speaking with honesty while matching your tone, gestures, and expressions creates authenticity. People respond to that kind of genuine connection because it feels safe and real. The power of combining verbal and nonverbal cues lies in its practicality. It's not complicated or mystical. It's simple observation paired with mindful listening. When you slow down, pay attention, and connect these dots, you see people clearly. You don't get lost in assumptions or surface appearances. You understand what drives them, what holds them back, and what they really want to say. Developing this skill takes practice. Start with small steps. In your next conversation, listen not just to words but also to tone. Watch posture and facial expressions. Notice hand movements and breathing. Over time, your brain will begin to spot patterns automatically. You'll start to anticipate feelings and reactions before they're spoken aloud. This isn't about reading minds like magic. It's about respecting the full language people use when they communicate. Their words, voice, and body are all part of the story. When those pieces line up, you can trust what you hear. When they don't, pay attention. That's where the truth often hides. Ultimately, combining verbal and nonverbal cues is a tool for deeper connection. It helps you respond with understanding rather than judgment. It allows you to meet people where they really are. That's the difference between hearing words and truly listening. You don't have to be a psychologist or a detective to do this. It's a skill anyone can develop with patience and care. When you commit to noticing the whole message, what's said and what's shown, you step into a place of power. You become a person who understands, who connects, and who inspires trust. This is how you read minds, not by guessing or assuming, but by tuning into the real language people speak every day, beneath the surface, beyond the words. And once you do, you'll never look at communication the same way again.